Hey Junior Tickies, I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We're going to look now at Chapter 2, Debtors, Activity 3. The following information was extracted from the accounting records of Nature Stores. The business sells for cash and on credit. The business operates on a markup of 66 2/3% on cost, round off to the nearest rand. Required, complete the debtors journal and cash receipts journal of Nature Traders for March 2024. Question 2, post to the debtors ledger. Question 3, post the following accounts in the general ledger: trading stock, debtors control, bank, sales and cost of sales. And question number 4, show the effect on the accounting equation for the following transactions. So if you look at the information and you look at the questions required, you do not need to start necessarily question 1, then question 2, for example. When we always start with the opening balances. These will go in your general ledger. Now take note, we are busy with March, but yet they've given February. This is because the end of February will be the opening balances in March. Then step number 2, we're going to look at all the transactions. And when we're posting the transactions, we have to take it to the journals, and then on the same day, if a debtor is involved, we have to take it to their individual account. And you will see, especially in this activity, the first time where we're going to look at what happens if a debtor makes a payment. When a debtor makes a payment and he settles the account, you have to know, but what is the balance at any given time? And that will go into the cash receipts journal. After we've done the transactions, then we close off the journals and we post it to the general ledger. So I would actually recommend first to the debtors journal and then the cash receipts journal, because if you get a transaction where it's said that the debtor settled his account to date, then you know exactly to quickly have a look, but to see did the debtor purchase before that date, what is the outstanding balance. Completing the journals. So we're going to start with the journals. Day 4, received 1,980 from Eggplant in full settlement of her account. Receipt 1 was issued to her. So in settlement of account, here they specifically said what was the amount given. And if it says full settlement of account, it means that everything that she owed, she made a payment. That goes into the cash receipts journal. Source document, duplicate receipt number 1 on day 4. From who did we receive the money? Eggplant. How much did we receive? For what reason? On the same day, day 4, sold goods costing $7.40 to Pixel for cash. Issued cash invoice 44. So the transaction said sold for cash. Don't look at the source document invoice. It says cash invoice. If you see the word invoice, it doesn't just mean it goes into the debtors journal. Cash invoice sold for cash means it goes into the cash receipts journal. But now they provided you with the cost, which means if I want to work out the selling price, we have to take the cost times 166.66666 divided by 100. If you want to calculate the cost price and they've given you the selling price, then you times it by 100 divided by 166.6666. So this is important to remember. You've learned this when we've done Chapter 1 cost calculations. So we start with the invoice, cash invoice. So it's duplicate cash invoice number 44. On day 4, you don't need to write it again. Details sales. Now we've calculated using cost price times 166.66666 divided by 100. Remember to round it off. It equals 1,233. For what reason did we receive it? Because of sales. The cost 740, which was given. A reminder, there's alternatives that you can use to calculate this. So you could have said 2.5 divided by 1.5, but that's just alternative method. You would also get a decimal. Keep it simple and use this which is familiar to you. At the end of the day, we draw a line and we put the total under bank. Day 9, sold merchandise on credit to N-Fish for 1,220, issued invoice 101. When we sold on credit, it goes to the debtors journal, duplicate invoice 101, day 9, name of debtor, N-Fish. We have to take it to his personal account, debtors ledger, sales 1,220, and the cost of sales must be calculated using the same indicator or formula that's written here above. Take the selling price times 100 divided by 166.6666. Day 12, received proof of payment from L Snake for 6,000 in part payment of his account. So he didn't settle it in full, he only settled some of it. If the business receives money, this goes into a cash receipts journal. If it says received proof of payment, the source document that will be used is a bank statement. This happened on day 12. From who did we receive the money? L Snake. This must be taken to his individual account in the debtors ledger. How much did we receive? It goes directly in bank, no analysis of receipts. For what reason? That is because he is a debtor. This, just to illustrate, is an example where we say as well, we take it to the individual's account and we take it to the control account. And that's why the debtors list should be the same as the debtors control. On the same day, day 12, credit sales of merchandise. So there's a number of items that were sold on credit. The first one is V Bird. So we start with the source document number 102, day 12, name of debtor, V Bird, debtors ledger number 4, selling price 1,500 goes into sales. Calculate the cost using the selling price times 100 divided by 166.66 reoccurring. Then invoice number 103, name of debtor, N-Fish, debtors ledger 1, amount 3,700 in sales, cost of sales 2,220. The last one, C plant, invoice number 104. C eggplant, we have to take it to his individual account. Selling price goes into sales, cost of price goes into cost of sales. Day 15, cash sales according to cash invoice 7,567. Cash sales goes into the cash receipts journal, day 15. Duplicate cash invoice, now it's number 45. Make sure that the numbers are in numeric order. Details, sales, amount 7,567. For what reason? For sales 7,567. And now you need to calculate the cost. On the same day, day 15, received cash from N-Fish to settle his debt on the 1st of March 2024, issued receipt. So this is where you need to be careful. It specifically said to you on the 1st of March 2024. So it doesn't matter if N-Fish purchased on the 9th and on the 12th, and now he made a payment on the 15th, because it set his balance on the 1st of March. So if you go to the list of balances at the end of February, means the opening balances in March, you would take note that N-Fish had a balance of 2,500, and that is the amount which was settled. So in your cash receipts journal, duplicate receipt number, now this will be number 2. From who did we receive the money? N-Fish. That will be taken to his debtors ledger. Amount 2,500. For what reason? That is a debtor. That's why it goes under debtors control. Now, there's no other transactions on day 15, which means that we draw a line under analysis of receipts and we total it, and that is the figure that will appear in your bank. Day 22. Sold goods on credit to V-Bird 9,300 and L-Snake 12,170. So selling goods on credit goes to the debtors journal. The next document number is number 105 on day 22. Who did we sell to? V-Bird. We have to take it to his personal ledger account, number 4. The selling price 9,300 and the cost 5,580. The next line, source document 106, name of debtor L Snake, 12,170 the selling price, which goes under sales, and the cost, which we've calculated using that formula, goes under cost of sales. Day 28. Received an EFT from V-Bird in full settlement of his account to date. And this is now the more challenging one, because when we say in full settlement of his account, it means we have to calculate his balance. And that's why the debtors ledger must be done at the same time when completing the journals. Because then I know exactly on that day, day 28, what is the outstanding balance and what is the balance that must be settled. So if we looked at what is happening with his balance, it started with V-Bird had a balance of 4,320. So this is the first part of his calculation. Then, and this must now be in date order, so you also need to be careful. Then we look at on day 12, he purchased for 1,500, so we needed to add that. And then on day 22, he purchased for 9,300. There was no payment that we've received during the month from V-Bird before the 28th. So the outstanding balance is 15,120, and that is the amount that should be settled. And when he settled his account, it means he paid it in full. The business received money. So the source document, because it said received EFT, will be bank statement. From who did we receive the money? For V-Bird. It goes directly in your bank. For what reason? For debtors control. 15,120. Day 28. Supplied merchandise to N-Fish for 1,900. A cash invoice for half the amount was issued to him. A credit invoice was for the remainder. So now this debtor paid and purchased on credit. So it's a cash and a credit sales transaction. He didn't pay his account. They said supplied merchandise for 1,900. A cash invoice was for half the amount. So the first part of the transaction is going to be recorded in your cash receipts journal. duplicate cash invoice, and now we are busy with number 46 on day 28. Details, sales, analysis of receipts 950. For what reason? This was because of sales 950 and the cost is 570, which goes into your cost of sales. The second part, this goes now into the debtors journal. 107 is the source document. Day 28, name of debtor in fish, sales 950 and the cost 570. Once we are done with the transactions, we can now draw a line starting with bank, and we total each money column. There was nothing under sundry accounts. And in the debtors journal, draw a line. We only have two money columns, sales and cost of sales, and we need to total it. And these are the figures that must be posted to the general ledger. Completing now the debtors ledger. Remember, normal procedure, this is done on the same day that the transaction occurred. For the purpose of explaining, I've just focused first on the journals, and now I'm going to complete the debtors ledger. And for that reason, you will see that I'm going to use the cash receipts journal that we've just completed and the debtors journal so that we can complete each debtors ledger. So we start with the first debtor in fish, and we have to first write on the first day of the month, account rendered 2,500. Now we can go to the cash receipts journal, and I'm going to highlight all the transaction which the debtor is involved. Very important, this must be in date order. So again, I'm going to emphasize, if you do it at the same time while you're completing the transactions in the journal, it will automatically be in date order. Then you don't need to be concerned about that. So the first transaction happened on day 9 from the debtors journal. So my code is 1 because this means credit sales, invoice 101, and I only care about the selling price in the debtors ledger. What is the amount that this debtor owes me? Debit 1,220, so my new balance 3,720. Why debit? This is a current asset. Debit means plus, credit means minus. So every time we're selling goods on credit, and you can study this, it will appear on the debit side. Our current assets will increase. Day 12, invoice 103. From the debtors journal, debit 3,700, the new balance 7,420. So take the previous 3,720 plus 3,700 equals my new balance, 7,420. Then on day 15, can you see now that the code is different? We assigned number 2 for payments from debtors. Receipt number 2 was issued as evidence and proof. Now from the cash receipts journal, it will always appear on the credit side because this debtor owes me 2,500 less. To calculate the new balance, 7,420 minus 2,500. They owe you less money. On day 28, code 1, invoice 107 from the debtors journal number 3, debit 950. Do not enter the cash sales part of this transaction in the debtors ledger. That will be completely wrong, because then you are saying that he owes me more money, or you're going to put it on the credit side because it's from the cash receipts journal, and then you're going to say he owes me 950 less. He never made a payment. He took some of it on credit and some of it cash. So my new balance, 5,870. Debtor number 2, L Snake. Start with the opening balance. On the first day of the month, account rendered, balance 8,000. And then we need to look at, again, the date. Make sure the dates are in the correct order. So I've highlighted everywhere where I see debtor ledger number 2. And the first transaction was on day 12. Code number 2, source document, bank statement from the cash receipts journal. He owes us 6,000 less. So his new balance is 2,000. Then on day 22, from the debtors journal, my source document will always be invoice. Invoice number 106, code 01, from the debtors journal on the debit side, because he owes me more money, and that's why my balance will increase 2,000 plus 12,170. Debtor number 3, C eggplant. We start with the account rendered on the 1st of March 2024, a balance of 1,980. On day 4, C eggplant made a payment, which means that from the cash receipts journal that this debtor owes me less money. So it will always appear on the credit side. We start with the day of the transaction, code number 2, receipt number 1 was issued. From the cash receipts journal, 1,980. Can you see that he settled his balance, which was on the 1st, so now he owes nothing. But then he purchased again on the 12th, code 1, invoice 104, amount 2,100, which means it will appear on the debit side. From the debtors journal, debtors control will always be debited. His new balance, 2,100. Then V Bird, the last debtor, number 4. We start with the account rendered on the 1st of March 2024, 4,320. On day 12, we sold on credit from the debtors journal, invoice 102, debit 1,500, my new balance 5,820. Then on day 22, we sold goods on credit from the debtors journal, invoice number 105, the amount 9,300, and the new balance 15,120. And then on day 28, V Bird settled his account, whatever the outstanding balance was to date. And this is what I referred to earlier when we completed the journals. If you complete this at the same time, you would immediately see, but on the 22nd, there's an outstanding balance of 15,120, which means that he settled his account. He paid that in full on day 28. The source document was bank statement from the cash receipts journal on the credit side, because debtors is a current asset which will decrease on the credit side, and now the outstanding balance is 0. He doesn't owe anything else. After we've completed the debtors ledger, we have to take all the balances that we've got at the end, and a reminder, we do not total this. After each transaction, the new balance is calculated. So these are the figures that should go directly into the debtors list. And all we do with the debtors list, we name the debtor and we write the outstanding balance. At the end, we total that. And this is the figure that should be the same as the balance in the debtors control account once you've completed the general ledger. If it's not the same, it means somewhere along the line, you have made a mistake. And this is just for an introduction. This is what we do in grade 10. We look at the debtors control balance is not the same as the balance in the debtors list. So then we need to reconcile. We need to check where did we possibly make a mistake so that we can correct it because it must be the same. Right, completing the general ledger. Completing the general ledger, again going through the process. You would have started with the opening balance. Then you would have posted from the journals to the general ledger. And at the end of the month, you would have then closed the accounts and calculate the new balance and totals. I'm going to start by focusing just on the trading stock account. So if we start with the trading stock, we start with the opening balance. Trading stock is a current asset, so the plus is on the debit side. This will be March 2024 on the first balance brought down. From the journals, we have to post now looking for trading stock in the cash receipts journal and the debtors journal. But now you don't see the word trading stock there. It's not written anywhere. You should know that trading stock, when it increases, it means that we've purchased trading stock. When it decreases, it means that we've sold trading stock. These are just some of the transactions. So when we sell trading stock cash, we will find it in the cash receipts journal when we see the word cost of sales. When we sold it on credit, we would find it in the debtors journal where you see the word cost of sales, because the word cost of sales means the cost of goods that was sold. Right, so starting with, it's both in a money column, so it will be at the end of the month. March on the 31st, the contra account is cost of sales, cash receipts journal, 5,850. So I would then immediately go to the cost of sales account, and then I will put it on the debit side. Cost of sales will be debited with 5,850 from the cash receipts journal. Then we've applied the double entry principle. For every credit, there is a debit. But again, I'm only going to focus on this account. Then from the debtors journal, our contra account details is cost of sales and the amount 18,564. At the end of the month, we can balance this account, take the debit, total it. The debit side must be equal to the credit side. The difference is my balance carried down. So this is the amount of stock which I've got available in April on the 1st, 5,786. There's two reasons why in a perpetual or continuous inventory system, I want to record the cost when goods are sold. Number one, I want to know what was our gross profit, sales minus cost of sales. Number two, we're keeping track of our stock when we purchase and when we sell. These are some of the transactions. Debtors control is regarded as an asset, and now it's a little bit more challenging than the previous activity. It also has a question mark, the debtors control, which means we need to take or look at the debtors list. Because the balance of the debtors list, the total, must be the same as the debtors control. But now they didn't give it to you. We need to calculate that. So that is our step number 1. We need to add all the debtors so that we can find the balance brought down. And this will appear on the debit side because this is a current asset. The plus is on the debit side. Posting from the journals, the same as with trading stock. If I look at the debtors journal, the word debtors control is not written there. You should know that when you see debtors journal sales, it means goods were sold on credit. Our income, sales will be credited, account debited, debtors control. Starting with the cash receipts journal now, we need to see, was there any debtors control? Yes. The total must be taken to the general ledger. This happens at the end of the month, March 31st, 2024. From the cash receipts journal, my details is always bank, and the total 25,600. From the debtors journal, debtors control is always debited. The contra account is sales 30,940. Now we can balance this account. To balance this, take the debit side and add it together. It must be equal to the credit side minus 25,600 means that the balance of the debtors is 22,140. Balance carried down means balance brought down. This must be the same as the balance in the debtors list. Posting now to the bank. We start with the opening balance. Remember that bank can have a bank overdraft, then it's a current liability. Or it can have a favorable bank balance on the debit side, then it's a current asset. So they specifically said debit, that's why the balance is on the debit side. From the cash receipts journal, bank will always be debited total receipts from the cash receipts journal, 35,350. So all we need to do, there was no CPJ, we just balance and we close off this account at the end of the month. Balance carried down means balance brought down. Now we move on to the nominal account section. Nominal account section, we start with totals brought forward. That will be on the first day of the month. It will appear on the credit side because sales is regarded as an income and the plus is on the credit side. The total brought forward 55,850. From the cash receipts journal, sales will always be credited and my details bank. From the debtors journal, sales will always be credited, but now my details is debtors control. That represents my cash sales. The second one, debtors, represent my credit sales. And at the end of the month, we have to total this. Cost of sales is an expense, which means that the total brought forward will appear on the debit side on the first day of the month. Then, from the cash receipts journal, cost of sales will always be debited and trading stock would be credited. This is why my details is trading stock. From the debtors journal, cost of sales will always be debited, account credited, trading stock 18,564. At the end of the month, we total, and this is my cost of sales. The general ledger, if you just understand that double entry principle, then it can be so easy for you to earn marks. You can literally go and study these accounts as well. The last part of this question was completing the accounting equation. Transaction number 4, the first one, received 1,980 from Eggplant in full settlement of her account. Receipt 1 was issued to her. So when the business receives money, bank will always be debited. Account credited, debtors control. If I ask you to also name the debtor, then you would have mentioned debtors control and the name Eggplant. Both is regarded as a current asset, which means assets plus minus. Nothing happened with owner's equity, nothing with liabilities. You have to indicate the sign plus the figure. Both must be written there. On the same day, sold goods costing 740 to Pixel for cash. So when there's a cash sales transaction, we have to show the selling price and the cost. To show the selling price, it means bank is going to be debited. Do not write debtors control because you've seen the word invoice. It specifically said cash invoice. That's why bank is debited, account credited, sales. They provided you specifically with the cost 740. So this means to calculate the selling price, you had to take your cost times 166.6666 divided by 100. And that equaled the selling price, which is 1,233. And these are the same figures that appeared in your cash receipts journal. Then we've got Day 9, sold merchandise on credit to N Fish for 1,220. So when we're selling on credit, the selling price goes into debtors control and sales. The cost of sales and trading stock. So to show the selling price, account debited, debtors control, account credited, sales, plus 1,220 plus 1,220. To show the cost of sales is debited, account credited, trading stock, assets minus 732, owner's equity minus 732. Nothing happened with your liabilities. Thank you very much. Never stop learning because life never stops teaching. I hope you have a wonderful day.